My biggest thing that I had to overcome is that you can be more than one thing. You don't have to be just Hannah the physical therapist, or just Hannah the photographer, or just Hannah the wife, or just Hannah the daughter.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Ashley, and today I'm joined by sports photographer and physical therapist Hannah Kevorkian. For our sports fans that are listening, Hannah has shot in some of the biggest professional leagues and at iconic events, including the WNBA All-Star Weekend, Miami Open, Unrivaled, and the NCAA Final Four. What's so interesting about Hannah's story is that photography was never supposed to be more than a hobby. And yet, continuing to pursue it, it has opened doors that she never could have planned for. Today, we'll be diving into what it looks like to give yourself permission to pursue something creative alongside a full-time career, and what can happen when you follow that curiosity, even when you don't know where it's going to lead. So, with that, Hannah, welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks. That was a really nice entrance. That was good.
Well, I am excited to share this space with you. And just to give a little context on how we're connected, we met at the Miami Open a few years ago, and you were capturing some of the biggest moments and names in tennis, including a friend of mine, Jessie Pagula, who I was there watching. And I remember when we were chatting there, you were telling me that you had to go back to work the next day, and I was thinking, like, aren't you at work? And that's really whenever I just learned about you as a full-time physical therapist, and then doing this photography as a side thing, right? And so I was just very in awe of that. And then, checking out your portfolio and everything, it's just incredible work. And then later learning that it was never necessarily a goal for you to do both PT and photography. And now you're shooting across multiple professional leagues, including most recently Unrivaled season 2, which just wrapped up in early March. It sounds like it sounds like a TV series when I say it like that.
It pretty
um,
much was, honestly.
yeah, but for those who may be unfamiliar with Unrivaled, it's a new women's 3-on-3 professional basketball league founded by Brianna Stewart and Nafisha Collier, played during the WNBA offseason. So take us down the journey when you first started photography, and what was that moment that you realized, like, hey, I can actually do this for real?
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is, like, I don't really think there was ever, some people have that, the first time I picked up a camera, I don't really have that. I don't actually even really know how I started doing it. So I grew up in upstate New York, just outside Syracuse. And in upstate New York, everybody has a basement. So when I was younger, my dad did a lot of film photography. So our basement was actually like a dark room. So I just remember seeing him, like, develop, his own photos down there. And he's very talented, like, carpenter as well. So he would make his own photo frames and everything. So I think the interest probably started there, but I never really thought anything of it. And then just as I got older, I've found myself kind of always being the one, like, with the camera, documenting, moments that were going on and just looking for those moments. So I think, to answer your question, I don't necessarily know if there was, like, a real moment. It just seemed that it kinda grew as I got older, and then the older that I got, the more I just kinda knew that I wanted to be in the space.
And was there a first big gig that you landed, or a sporting event or something that kind of exposed you more in that way and from the sports side?
I mean, I would probably say my opportunity with the Dolphins, but before that, I used to sneak my camera into US soccer games. I would get, lower bowl level tickets, and then I would sneak my camera in, and just take some photos from the stands, see what I could get, and then I had some photos kind of on backstock for a little bit of a portfolio. I pretty much did that, and then, I got connected with the league, the director of photography for the Miami Dolphins. His name is Pete McMahon. He's a wonderful person if you ever get to meet him. But yeah, he just brought me on to his freelance home game team, and I shot 5 seasons for him. I had the best time. I learned so much through him. So I think just being part of a photo team at the highest level was probably what really made me feel like I could do it.
And as you were, showing up, to those events, and you said 5 seasons with the Dolphins, was that all at the same time that you were also studying and then getting into physical therapy as well?
Yeah, so I think I started my first season with the Dolphins. I was in one of my gap years. I decided I wanted to be a physical therapist a little bit later. I think it was like my senior year of college. So I had maybe like 6 prerequisite courses that I needed to take. So I took a year and a half off. I did those courses, and then at the same time, I was also able to pursue a little bit more of the photo stuff. And that's really when I was with the Dolphins and just doing other little things.
You mentioned that working with Pete, you had learned so much throughout that time. What were some of those biggest learnings? What did he teach you during that time that stuck?
Yeah, I mean, I would say both. I think the main thing was just like learning about being on a photography team. I think one of the things in the photo world is everybody is an individual creator. And this business is really hard, I will say. It's really hard. A lot of it is kind of who you know, which, is kind of anything. But a lot of creators are very, and including myself, you have to be selfish in a way that you have to put yourself in the best position to get to capture the best footage. So I think being on a team sort of really helps you understand that there are going to be times where you have to kind of forgo your individual desire to get, the main moment. And you have to be able to get the supporting moments that maybe you don't really want to shoot, but it helps tell the story. So it's just as important as the main moment. So I think game flow and just sharing the space with other creators was probably the main lessons, that I learned there that I was able to take to all my other future jobs that I don't think I would have gotten necessarily if I wasn't on such like a high level photography team.
Mm. Yeah, I was just thinking about that too, like how impactful those kind of early on experiences are for later in your career and those relationships too. Like you mentioned, with Pete, how you learned so much with him and being part of that team in that way that then it's almost like sometimes you can connect the dots back with maybe opportunities that came up later on. So, how did that teach you just about how these opportunities that you had to really lean into them because you never know how one could lead to the next?
Yeah, I think the main thing is when you go to events and you're working games and stuff, being aware of your surroundings is a really big part of it. Just kind of learning how to interact with other creators in the space. Introducing yourself is a big thing, just kind of putting a name to a face. And I don't know who told this to me, but it's kind of stuck with me. But it says that who you are is how you treat others that can do absolutely nothing for you.
Mm.
So I think when you meet other people in the space, you want to introduce yourself, kind of put yourself out there, but you don't wanna go about it as you're trying to get something from them either? So it's opportunities are created through organic relationships, and I will say when I first started, I made huge mistakes. I would send DMs just asking how to get things or where do I apply or stuff like that, and I think everybody does that in the beginning just because they don't necessarily understand, the nuances of how it kinda works. And that's with anything, not just this. It takes you a little bit to kind of find your footing, but it's because of those mistakes I think we as creators have, learned how to go about things, and that's what opened doors is those relationships that you make when you weren't intending to.
So good and so applicable across all spaces, right? And what you're doing of we all have our individual, journeys that we go down and make mistakes along the way. And I think too, just to your point, like you're learning from them and you're growing from them and kind of coming back to yourself and that integrity piece too about, not always going into something with an agenda because, I think those kind of authentic, organic relationships really can go a long way. And Yeah, you feel like there's a real connection there outside of what can each of us do for one another.
It's
Uh,
definitely an ego check, I will say. I think when you first come into a space, everybody has a little bit of an ego on their shoulder. And again, you have to be, because if you want to be at the top and you want to get the best opportunities, you have to be able to show what you can do for them. But definitely learning as you go, the right way to do it and reading people too. Like if they're not getting what you're putting down, like get out of there.
mm,
So I think just like learning how to interact with certain different types of people. And again, I've made my fair share of mistakes. I still make mistakes with that. I still sometimes it takes a little bit to read somebody. I'll say something, doesn't land. I'm like, okay, get out.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but
it's great awareness.
well, depends on the day.
No, for sure. I mean, it's such a unique journey in space, and all at the same time while you're pursuing this, your career, right? In your day, your 9 to 5 in that way. So take us there a bit and how you kind of blend the 2, and are you using different sides of your brain? Does anything overlap?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it comes back to creativity and just like I work in inpatient rehab, so our patients are with us for about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the diagnosis. And we primarily see people who have had a neurological diagnosis. So we see a lot of stroke, brain injury, spinal cord, that kind of stuff. So a lot of that does come with creativity since many of them do have new impairments that prevent them from doing certain things. It's a lot about focusing on okay, how can we use what you have to do
Mm,
something and not focus on what you can't? And I think that maybe ties to photography too, because a lot of the questions I get asked, I get a lot of DMs asking like what equipment that I use.
uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah, because your
and
photos are insane.
oh, thank you very much. I mean, some of them, it depends. Again, depends on the day, depends on the
Yeah.
lighting. But I think a lot of people think that the equipment does the work. And don't get me wrong, the best equipment definitely helps elevate the quality and stuff. But at the end of the day, I think some of the best photos I've taken so far have been on not the best equipment because I didn't have the best equipment, so I had to get creative. So
That is, yeah, such an encouragement. And I think that can be applicable to not just in photography equipment, right? But with anything. I mean, people ask me about what podcast equipment I use, and I'm like, well, and it's not because it's a great production. I think it's just a general question, right? But it's always this assumption that like you need to have the best of the best of the best of the best to be able to produce something. And what is it that actually really, matters here? And of course, well, with photography, you think about all the ways like creatively that, it's what you're doing with that, right? Well, what's the saying about it's only as good as like the person behind it, right? So you could give me the most fancy DSLR camera, whatever. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I used to do this little amateur photog over here, but I didn't know what I was doing, and I thought I needed all the best equipment, that's for sure.
yeah, and it's a lot of like kind of with the human body in photography as well as like you have to see what you want to do before you do it. So it's like when you think about intervening on somebody with an impairment, you want to a lot of it is visual. A lot of it is like visual imagination and just like having them imagine doing the task or whatever that may be. And with photos, it's like a lot of the times I'll see a picture in my head of what I want before I take it. So I guess there's some parallels, but again, it just comes back to the creative mind and applying it however it fits in the situation.
I wanna ask you a little bit about the challenges that come with photography too, because I think just kinda like anything, people see that they see the end product, right? Like, they can look at your portfolio and see like, "Oh my gosh," like I do, like, "These are insane photos," and there's so much work, that goes behind it, right? And, that somebody from the outside looking in just may not understand. So what are some of those challenges that you experience, when you're out there to be able to produce the kind of end results that people see?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the main ones is just like not being in the right spot. for something, with basketball, they have you sitting, on the baseline, or they'll have you up in the stands, like in the concourse, just depending on, how many photographers have applied or what the event is. Obviously, if it's a little bit more of a desired event to be captured and there's an overflow, a lot of the times we'll get put in the concourse. Um, and then for soccer, they put you behind the baseline or the end line, excuse me, the end line. And football, you can kind of go wherever, which is great. But again, a lot of it does come down to luck. I mean, so you kind of asked about a challenge, just like anticipating where the action is going to happen. But the other part of it is understanding that you can still make a good photo without having the main shot. I mean, shoot through something, shoot the crowd. That was something that, particularly with Unrivaled, that I would try to do a lot. It's like I would try to shoot the bench or the coaches because they're giving you just as much, but most people are kind of focusing on the action. And I had an awesome team behind me as well, so I kind of knew that somebody was going to get the main moment. So we had the flexibility to kind of get other things. But yeah, I mean, that's one challenge is just being in the right place at the right time and being able to anticipate. And a lot of the times you're going to anticipate wrong. That's just sports for you. If a team that you're there for is like really being blown out, you're not going to get emotion from them. So, what other kind of things can you do? Can you shoot detail stuff? Can you get close ups on their uniforms? That
Mm.
kind of stuff. So, I think the main challenge with photography, and particularly sports photography, is you just like never know what's going to happen.
And is that something that you are thinking through kind of like in the moment, or do you plan for that ahead of time in the sense of like, hey, let's say that this is going to be a blowout, or a main player goes down with an injury that is unexpected, and then maybe it changes the whole kind of dynamic and atmosphere. Is that something that you can kind of think on your feet in a way that you're like, okay, what could I focus on now, or what could I kind of, it gives you that maybe creative freedom in the moment?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, I couldn't do that. I was just like the classic follow the ball, follow the action, like get
Yeah.
your yeah, and but that's the thing, and that's part of the learning curve. So I really didn't do much of like outside the box thinking in the beginning of my sports photography career. But the more that you're out there and then the more that these things happen, I think that's when you start to kind of develop your creative edge a little bit on like, okay, this is not going where I want it to go, or I'm at this baseline and everything is happening over there. So, what can I shoot now that's still gonna kind of help tell the story and give cool imagery, but might not necessarily be the main thing, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
So, it kind of comes, I think it comes with time. I mean, some people are just really talented and they know what to do right off the bat. I did not, but it comes with, for me, it came with time.
As you continue to, like, grow in that and see, even just your own creative process increasing in different ways, and you can differentiate yourself here, or you can be, more versatile. And as you're noticing the growth in yourself, was that something that contributed to, landing other opportunities and more paid opportunities within photography as well?
Yes and no. I mean, I think I have a lot of imposter syndrome. Every day that I was fortunate enough to go to work at Unrivaled, I was kind of just like asking myself how I got here.
Yeah,
So a
how'd you
lot
get
of it
there,
is,
Hannah?
yeah, a lot of it is like fake it till you make it. I mean, so the answer to your question is like, yes, I kind of felt that as I was able to adjust more naturally, that this could potentially go a lot farther than I anticipated. But no, in the sense where I was like, no, why would they want me? This is just a hobby. This is just, so it was like a little bit of that back and forth self talk, where it's like,
I was gonna say, meanwhile, Paige Beckers is over here calling Hannah the goat as she's having imposter syndrome. So, imposter syndrome is real.
it is really real. I think in any setting too, not just photography, physical therapy, like any space that you don't feel 100% confident in, I think it's gonna be there.
Yeah. So, what do you do to combat some of that or work through that?
I just do it. I mean, the short answer is like, well, I'm here, so I'm either gonna do it or it's not gonna get done. So, yeah, I don't really have a straight answer for you because the answer is you just have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to your point, it spans all different areas and crafts I think that people struggle with imposter syndrome, and I don't know if it helps or hurts whenever somebody else reinforces to you, like, "Oh, you are so amazing at this," you know? It's like, I think about that, and you're like, you wanna take that as, like, good encouragement, and then you're like, "Wait a second, am I really though?" You know?
I y It's so interesting because 'cause I've always had that, like, and this is horrible, I really need to change my mindset, but I've always been that person that deflects compliments so bad. I'll be like, "Oh, thanks, that's not." I've done it a few times here. You've said something about photos, and I'm like, "Oh, depends on the day." Um, because I just don't want to ever get to that point where I think that it's perfect.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I need to do a better job. I need to learn a little bit better of how to, like, actually accept a compliment and believe that people are being genuine when they say it. I think it's just like in today's world, you can't really tell what's real and what's not anymore. So I'm a little bit guarded. So when people do tend to like give you really strong compliments and stuff, like my immediate like answer is to almost like deflect, which is wrong. I shouldn't do that. But, it happens.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that because I think a lot of people can relate to that, myself included. When somebody is giving you a compliment, it's really, really hard to just receive that without trying to, yeah, de
Like
deflect
it's
it.
awkward sometimes too.
Yeah, like someone will say something and I'm like, "I don't know what to say." And they're like, "You can just say thank you."
I'm
And I'm
working
like,
on it.
"Okay, it
We're
doesn't feel
let's
right."
work on this moving forward. We need to be better at being like, "Thank you," and walk away.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing that because I do think it is something a lot of us can relate to. And what does it look like to just receive? Sometimes I think also whenever we're in like this performance mindset, it's like you always feel like you have to do something, do something, do something. I think sometimes whenever people even give us compliments, you feel that same way. Like, oh, now that you just gave me a compliment, like now I have to like either
Like give one
no,
back.
yeah, I have to, like, do something now, and it's like, actually, what if you just receive, and what if you just receive, and that's it? And then
Yeah.
it feels so weird, but there's something to that, I think, when practicing that, yeah, it feels like a bit of a like a deep breath,
It
like
is
I
that
did.
balance though too, because it's like it when you give somebody a compliment, you don't want them to assume that you're fishing for one back. Like sometimes
Yeah,
I'm like, no, I'm literally just telling you for your own information. I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
want anything back. In fact, please don't give
exactly.
me anything back because then I'm gonna feel like I need to give something back.
Yeah, it feels so like, I don't know what to say. Just say thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll try next time.
I think it's an athlete thing, to be very honest with you. I think it's like an athlete thing because you just like I don't know, it's just like the mentality that it's like, okay, you have to be better. You have to
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
constantly one
exactly.
up yourself every time.
100%. I'll go with that because I think that is, like, just innate, which is just a forever, like, learning journey of kinda breaking some of that stuff down and, you know, realizing that you are more than the things that you do. That's the endless journey, I think.
And you mentioned something earlier that like something about giving yourself permission to do.
Mhm.
That was like my biggest thing that I had to overcome is that you can be more than one thing. You don't have to be just Hannah the physical therapist or just Hannah the photographer or just Hannah the wife or just Hannah the daughter. You know what I mean? Like I am a combination of those things and I am Hannah that gets bored kind of easily. So I have a lot of things that keep my brain working and keeping me interested in learning new skills and stuff. So that was like my biggest thing is just like giving myself permission to take a leave of absence from work, go to Unrivaled, do something completely that I would normally never give myself permission to do and have like the best time with it and not feel guilty about you went to school for 7.5 years for this degree. You have to use this degree because that's what you are. So that was like my big I think win of 2026 is just like giving myself permission to do something else.
That's huge, and I mean, there's a risk to that too, right? Did you ever imagine that would ever be possible?
I mean, the answer to that question is yes. I always thought it was a possibility, but I never thought I'd let myself do it. On a side note though, like, you know who told me about Unrivaled?
Maybe.
You did. I remember getting this text from you. This was, like, maybe, I don't know, 2 years ago. It was maybe, like, 6 months before they were supposed to tip off, and because I was doing WNBA at the time, and I remember I got a text from you, and you were like, "Hey, are you gonna do Unrivaled?" And I was like, "What is that?" So I Googled it, and I was like, "Oh, it's here in South Florida." So I asked my usual media company, like, "Hey, do you want coverage of this?" And then I was there literally every week, season 1. So you are the one that actually told me about it. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I do remember. I
So
was
that's,
gonna
like,
say,
kind
"No,
of
I don't,"
ironic
but I
that
do,
we're
I
here.
actually do.
So thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, look at this practicing in real time.
Just say you're welcome.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Um,
But yeah, no, to be on a real note, like, yes, I always thought it was a possibility just because I knew that I had the talent, I knew that I had the work ethic, and I knew that I had the will to want to use my skills and time to do something different. But I had always just done my photography jobs, like, on a weekend off or, you know, in between days that I was working or something. I would always fit photography in with my physical therapy schedule, and this was the first time that I was like, "No, you know what? I'm gonna go all in on this." And my
mhm.
job was amazing. They were so supportive, and they were like, "Yes, go do this. You got this opportunity, like, go do it. We'll hold your job." I don't know many people that would do that.
Yeah,
So,
that's amazing. I mean,
super
they barely
grateful
do
for
it when
that.
women are when women are pregnant, they're like, "You're gonna stay here until you have the baby." And meanwhile, it's
Literally.
like
So I kinda took that as, like, a sign that if they were so willing to, like, "Yeah, we see how much this means to you. We see, how hard you've worked for this opportunity." And that's another thing I think that people don't realize is that going back to your question earlier about the challenges in photography, nothing happens in real time. I mean, I had been doing photography on my own, so many jobs for free, paying for my own travel and stuff for probably 8 years before I started getting the jobs that I've always wanted, if that makes sense. So it's like I did not just pop up one day, say, "Hey, I want to be a sports photographer," and then got offered an incredible once in a lifetime opportunity. It was like built on work for the past 8 years that people didn't really know that came out of my own pocket and like was just for the passion of it, not for the monetary value.
mm, mm. So there's some encouragement for others who may be on a similar journey in that way, right? Like they're grinding and they have a passion, for something, whether it's photography, videography, painting, or any kind of other artistic endeavor. In your story alone, I mean, you see that, right? Like you were doing this for so many years and putting in so much work in that way. And now, okay, this is, the fruit of it, but it doesn't just happen overnight. So what's that encouragement, for those on that journey to keep pressing, keep going through?
Yeah, I mean, the amount of DMs that I get that say I probably have like maybe 70 DMs right now that say like, "Hey, how did you get here?" And what I would tell people is, well, I don't really know actually. I would more so say this is just in my experience. Do not quit your 9 to 5 because your 9 to 5 is going to help you build in your photo or video career. I do have to turn a lot of stuff down because I do have my 9 to 5, but when I do get the opportunity to do something, I have to go all in on it because it's like, "Hey, this is your opportunity that you're given. This is the time you have before you have to go back to work. Do it." So I would say just find a way to balance both because both jobs are gonna make you better at both, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And I think that openness, right, to what you can learn from the other as well, like having that open mind of how, one job or one field of work can actually help you in the other things that you're learning as well, like just being receptive to that, and being able to see that too.
And it just makes you appreciate I always tell people that, like, when I'm on my photo job, I appreciate my PT job more. When I'm on my PT job, I appreciate my photo job. So it's just like they kind of complement each other in a way that I just appreciate the other one more when I'm not doing it.
You think about the opposites of things, right? Like, we appreciate the sunshine when it's raining, and we appreciate the rain when sun. I mean, it's these opposites that, we don't know one without the other. And I think when you're able to have that both and, experience, then you can see that beauty. And like, that's something I personally miss about living up north in the seasons. Being able to go through each season. I mean, don't ask me how I make this connection between seasons and your PT and photography, but this is where my mind goes in these conversations, because I think it's like, yeah, it's so relative to just like life in different ways. We can learn so much, and
Where are you from again?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Okay, yeah, no, I mean, it's like I'm 100% agreeing with you. Like, I've never missed my pipes freezing and it being negative 20 degrees with like 2 feet of snow outside more than when I am outside in the middle of a South Florida summer and it's like 100 degrees at 7 AM.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's true. It's true. I'm just a couple miles from the beach and like I don't go very much. And it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I do take it for granted, but sometimes when you're just on this, like, it's every day, every day, every day, every day, feel very grateful it's always sunny out here, but
yeah,
sometimes it's like, let's get a little bit of rain so we can realize how, fortunate we are to be here.
yeah, no, that's
So
so true.
so yeah, but yeah, Pittsburgh reminds me every time I go up there when it's cloudy and gray, I'm like, "Okay, I don't need to be depressed right now, alright? Life is hard enough."
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's such an encouragement. Thanks so much for being here. I feel like we could keep going on and keep chatting. What's next for you in the sense of sports and events, and what are you shooting next?
Well, I'll be at the WNBA draft. That's in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to New York for that. And then I'll be kind of traveling around a little bit during the W season. Just going to my goal is to go to different cities. I haven't been out to California in the longest time, so I'm going to try to go out to Golden State for a couple of games. Maybe make it a travel weekend with my husband, go on a little vacation. But yeah, I'm going to try to just hit like a couple of different cities this year. I It's funny cuz I consider the New York Liberty, like, my home team.
Mhm.
Um, and but it's really easy. You just get on from Fort Lauderdale to LaGuardia or something. It's like a 2.5 hour flight.
Yeah,
It's really simple.
yeah.
But I wanna explore. I wanna go out west a little bit more. I wanna try to get to maybe a Dallas game and try to shoot in different arenas. I will be doing the Inter Miami home opener in their new stadium on Saturday. I don't know
Oh,
if this podcast
wow.
will air before then, but it's on the 4th. So
Uh-huh.
I'll be shooting for Inter Miami for that game.
How do you even know they got a new stadium?
They did, yeah, they're opening a new stadium. It's, like, down towards Biscayne, I think, somewhere in there, but
Wow.
it's beautiful. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, we
I
gotta
think
go.
it'll be a multi-purpose stadium. I'm pretty sure it'll probably be maybe they'll use it during the World Cup. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
that is my main goal is to get to the Olympics in 2028. So, that's what I hope is next.
Hannah's going to LA.
Yeah, we're gonna manifest that. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we'll find a way.
Well, thank you so much. This has been so fun. Love chatting with you. Very grateful that we cross paths in
Yeah,
Miami.
likewise. At some random practice at 10 AM on, like, a Tuesday.